How's it going, YouTube? Collection today with another video, and today, guys, what I have to bring to you is how to sideboard. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you so much for all the support in the last video. That last video was insane. Over 400 likes, 200 subs in a day. You guys are fantastic, and that really gives me the drive to keep doing what I really want to do on YouTube, and that's just really help players grow. The competitive scene is something that I've always loved, no matter what I was doing, and it's something that I really live for. Seeing that there's so many people just don't have access to a lot of locals, a lot of higher level of play, because a lot of the YCSs don't really go everywhere. They go in very specific locations, so some people don't always get to go, and just any kind of higher level play that a lot of people just either don't have time for, or they just don't have access to get to those things, right? I really just want to be the person that can really show you what the competitive thoughts are at the time, really understand the game and its interactions, how to side, basically where interactions are the best, where they're mediocre, and that's something that I really feel like I want to do and do well. So I do appreciate the fact that you guys enjoyed the last video. A lot of my videos moving forward will be the same kind of thing, as far as technical play, deck building, hand trapping. As formats shift, as they become anew, because of a ban list, I really want to be there immediately to show you hey, this is how you stop this deck, this is how you stop this strategy, this is where you play, this is where you side. Just so you guys are always very knowledgeable as to what's going on. If you guys are not already in my Discord, you guys should join it from the description link below. I will be adding in all the screenshots from the hand trap video and this video and any video moving forward into the how-to channel. So if you guys do need that on the fly, it'll be right in the palm of your hands and you'll be ready to go, especially right before your locals, so you can just go ahead, look over it one more time, go into there and win your locals. So I hope that works out for you. And the other thing is that I want to talk about this video for a second, and the fact that I will not be showing off any Imperm or Valor, because you should already be making that. This is about sideboarding. The only reason I put in Bell a couple times here is because I know some people side Bell. That should already be in your main deck, but in case you are, I did add it in a couple times just because I feel like it was relevant enough to say. There will be a part 2 to the hand trap video because you guys are all champions, and I really want to put that out for you. So without further ado, let's hop right into the sideboard video. One big thing I want to say about sideboarding before we talk specifically about decks is just the fact that when you're sideboarding, I have the best tip for you, and that's that you should only sideboard in 6 cards. The reason for that is because you don't want to see too much side and you don't want to see too much engine. So 6 is mathematically one of the best things that you can do to your deck, because you're going to be seeing enough sideboard, 1 or 2, and then enough engine just to be able to play the game and break a board or set up a board. Because if you're already playing against a deck that you're having a rough time against, if you don't see any sideboard cards, you're just going to lose, and that's really sad to say, but if I'm playing against a deck and they have IO and I don't put in 3 Cosmic, 3 Twin, I'm gonna lose, So that's something that I really have to think about every single matchup, no matter what I'm playing against. The only time this breaks is if you're playing against a deck that you just have way too many dead cards against and you just have to side a lot out. And that happens sometimes. You will get those matchups. The other thing is that if you have consistency cards, to find 1 card in your deck. So let's say you're playing a normal monster deck, you're playing 3 unexpected die and 3 painful decision, right? You want to cut a painful decision and post side, because you only want 5 ways to get the 1 card. That's why I only play 3 Ray and 2 rows, because I just don't want to see too many ways, because if I see too many Ray in my hand, I just kind of lose. I need engine, so that's something that you really have to think about. Same thing with pot cards. Going into games 2 and 3, you should be siding out pot cards, your 3rd copy of them. So just keep 2 in the deck, because you don't want to brick on them. You want to see your side more than not. You'll still be able to see your pot cards, but you'll also just be seeing your sideboard cards, and you'll be drawing into more meaningful things. So that's just something to really keep in mind and try out moving forward. And if it works for you, awesome. If it doesn't, then just keep trying different methods, but I hope that does work for you. Today, guys, I brought up a couple different decks here. There's a couple different from the last video, and then some that I brought in, some that I took out. So I hope that you enjoy this. Today, we're going to be starting off with Pendulum. So some of these have very generic uses, and they're fishable decks, and that's when you see cards like this, where I just kind of say, hey, these are the best cards. And then other ones you'll see where it's more specific interaction. So against Pendulum, anytime also that you see Droll and Shared Ride in the same picture, these just are a staple together, because either you're stopping them or you're drawing a bunch. So against Pendulum, these cards are both very detrimental against them. Nibiru and Evenly, losing your scales can easily just make them lose the grind game immediately. Pendulum has a really hard time coming back from an evenly match. Honorable mentions though, like Mystic Mine, they don't have any kind of back row out, so like Mystic Mine's insane. And then things like Dark Ruler and Droplet for whatever the big pendulum board is at the time. Right now they don't really have a big board, but like we all know that pendulum do end up having some kind of big board at some point. So just like be very careful about that. But moving forward off of pendulum, we have the Tri-Brigade deck. Lancia, as we all know, is just super fantastic because it can't banish, so they can't really do a whole lot in the game, which is always very fun. We also have Chaos Hunter, which is a cool honorable mention here because Chaos Hunter is just very underrated and very forgotten about, but it's a huge beat stick, and the Tri-Brigade monsters themselves are very small. So if you can actually summon Chaos Hunter on them and just lock them out of banishing, it can be very detrimental and make them lose the game very fast. So that's why it's on an honorable mention, but this is like so fantastic to do to someone because this is like so forgotten about. Phantasme is down here too, because it's really subjective if you want to play Phantasme, but like this is very good against Tri-Brigade because you're almost always drawing like off of 2 Link monsters. So it's very good. And then Mystic Mine, they don't main back row out, and then if you are playing a deck like Adamancipator, the reason why I love Mystic Mine on the side is like, let's say you're not playing any back row at all, they're not going to side in back row hate for you. So if you side in Mystic Mine, you just kind of auto win. So like if you're playing anything that just doesn't play back row and then you side in Mystic Mine, this is probably going to be a free game for you, which is pretty nice. I've seen that happen a lot, and it's kind of disgusting, but it does work. Bell for the Revolt. I didn't bring this up last time because I feel like I shouldn't have to mention this, but belling Revolt is like hands down really amazing to do. The only thing that I really don't like about saying like Bell the Revolt is because they always have the Appaloosa. If they're just doing full combo anyway. So like the bell almost never matters in this situation. So you got to be very careful about that, especially with crossout being a thing now. I think that bell on the Revolt is just like kind of terrible because like if they have the crossout, which they probably will, then like it's just gonna be a rough time for you, and then like you just kind of wasted a slot that could have been something more meaningful at the time. And that's why I think like switching over to like Ghost Ogre earlier than the new format will be actually really nice because they're not going to cross out a Ghost Ogre, at least not now. And then you'll be able to do the interaction where like if they negate with Appaloosa, you can chain Ghost Ogre, blow up the Appaloosa does not negate, and then you clean the big problem up, and then all of a sudden the only thing you have to deal with is a quick banish. Maybe like a strike if they have it set, but like the only thing you'll have to deal with there is like an Omen, and that's pretty easy to play around. The other thing is another card that's $4 now off the Megatin is the Alpha, the Master of the Beast. This is another really good card that can challenge an Appaloosa very fast. So I heavily recommend playing this card as well if you have room for it. I really enjoy this card because it can bounce, it can attack, he protect, you know, it's pretty good. I love this card. So I hope that you guys take that into consideration as well. The other thing here is that Context C is still very, very scary against Tri-Brigade. Once they use like the effect to banish and they summon out like Link 2, they're locked into only using like Beast Warrior and whatnot as material. So like you can just summon Contact on them, and then all of a sudden like they can't do anything with it, which is pretty crazy. And they have to use that card, so they kind of have to pass. So a very, very cool thing to do. Definitely keep this one in mind. It's a very, very strong card. And then again, Lancia just super cracked. Moving forward against Drytron. So don't play Cycle Reader. The reason why no one's playing Cycle Reader anymore is because you should never be sideboarding a card that's specifically for one matchup. Play Crow instead, because the only thing we were even trying to do with Cycle Reader was banish the Ben 10, and Crow just accomplishes that, but it's also very generically just good. So I'd rather you play the Crow instead of Ben 10 because Cycle Reader is just bad. The Droplet for the Dragoon IP Ultimateness. The Dragoon's always going to be a problem, but like you just want this card to be able to shut down everything. Same goes for Dark Ruler. It goes hand in hand to be able to shut down their board. Meister and Bell are the best cards against Drytron, hands down. Hitting the Meteonis Drytron, adding back from the graveyard is literally game against a Drytron player. The only thing they can do is go into Dragoon, and if you can out to Dragoon, they just lose. Another thing, you should be siding in a Kaiju for the Ultimateness at least, just so you have a chance at playing the game. You should be playing the Wind Kaiju because of the Barrier Statue problem that we're going to be having very soon, and especially with the new Bird Up cards that we're getting, and then the Flunderies deck. Having the Wind Barrier Statue to out the, or the Wind Kaiju to out the Wind Barrier Statue would be the best thing for you. Honorable mentions, again, if we have Droll, we have Shed Ride, and then Mystic Mine because they rarely will side in like back row and Drytron, but like Mystic Mine against them, especially game 1, is just GG in the chat. Dark Ruler, Mystic Mine, next game, you know, it's pretty nice. Moving forward, though, from Drytron, we have the AI deck. Again, just kaijuing that arrival cyber, so you just want to get rid of the towers so you can actually play the game, because it's very hard out otherwise. They had like the negate and graveyard, and if, you could probably just like swing over it with like an access code, but some of these get very, very big, so you have to be very careful about that and go ahead and use like a kaiju. Droll, Shed Ride. I'm sorry that Droll was in here twice, but like I guess that's just emphasis on Droll. I don't know where that happened, but Droll, Shed Ride, Nibiru, and Mystic Mine, because they don't want to play back row out. So all very good options against the AI deck. Some of these we're going to speed through kind of fast because they're kind of like, you know, they should just kind of be known, but I'm still going to explain them for the people who like don't understand that matchup just yet. Now, against Flunderees, Zombie World is literally worse than Mystic Mining a combo player. It's crazy. If you activate Zombie World on a Flunderees player, they cannot play the game. It is kind of nuts. They cannot tribute. Like, they stop playing the game. And if you're playing a deck like Drytron where you have Beatrice, you can actually send Necro Banshee to the graveyard from your deck and then just activate Zombie World. And then the Flunderees player loses. It's kind of nuts. The other thing you guys have to know about Flunderees is that their birds have to resolve their effects to summon. So like Robina can't summon and Eaglin can't summon if they're under Droll. So they just kind of auto-lose to that, which is pretty crazy. Droll is going to be like the best card besides Zombie World against Flunder. So this card's going to be coming back into play very, very fast. Because, again, the birds have to resolve their effects to get the summon. So Droll is very nuts. The other thing is Ghost Orging the map, always very good. Another card off the map, off the board that you don't really have to deal with anymore. A very annoying card at that. Then honorable mention, back row out. Shadal invoked Dogmatica. This one was left off last time on purpose because there's going to be a part 2 to the hand trap video. So I hope that you guys are looking forward to that. So we're going to be adding in more decks and more matchups. So Shared Ride is very cracked against this deck. I heavily recommend this if you're siding in. Shared Ride literally won me a game because the guy had every search card under the moon, and I flipped Shared Ride, he passed, and I killed him because he didn't want to give me 100 cards. Denko Seka in the honorable mentions because this card's going to be actually coming back into the game soon. This is actually my personal sideboard in Flunder as I'm playing Denko because you can get additional summons off the map and whatnot. So you could just like normal Denko on someone and just shut down all back row and just do your Flunder plays, which is pretty cracked because you don't even need back row in that deck, which is crazy. It's very, very good. But then you have evenly matched against this deck because they just lose all the resources, which is just so good. And I'm sure you guys know how evenly works here. It's just so broken. The only thing that leaves them with is maybe a window, and like that's all they have. You know, it's very cracked. Honorable mention again, Twin. Again, the alpha being able to summon and challenge the Makaba or the Winda is very strong. Kaiju over the Winda or Droplet on either of them. Mostly the Winda, but still things to keep track of. Things like chaining Cosmic Cyclone to Schism, very good. Belling the Schism, also very good. Being able to get that out of there, not letting them use that card. So other things that you guys should just be aware of as far as looking at sideboard options. All these are very solid options. Moving forward, we have the Virtual World deck. So Nibiru is the prime enemy of that deck, so definitely be on top of that one. Gamma is making an appearance over here because they all activate in hand, so it's just something that you really want to use on them. Gamma is very good, especially on the Lulu. Very, very strong. Evenly, again, just very cracked. You deal with the Chuche or the Shen Shen, and then you only have to deal with one. The Kaiju, the Droplet, and the Shen Shen, and then back row out for the Chuche. First Soul, we have the honorable mention of Nibiru because they're just summoning a bunch of tokens. A lot of times they don't get to a negate before they can be hit with Nibiru, especially if they're playing with Tennies. Another very important interaction you guys have to know is using Hulk effects. So you leave Hulk on the board against Sword Soul and pass like with whatever board you're going to make. Then you summon Shooting Riser Dragon, and then Riser will allow you to dump Token Collector from your deck to the graveyard, and then Token Collector can summon from the hand or graveyard whenever your opponent has a token. So they summon a token, and they have such a hard time dealing with this thing. Like, it's almost a free game the second you have Token Collector in play against Sword Soul. And you can get to that just off your Hulk, which is pretty nuts. General back row against the Sudden Shift, which is the Fire Lake effect to pop one you control and pop two your opponent controls. And then the Droplet or Dark Ruler against the Monster Negate and the Omni Negate. Always very, very good as well. Moving forward, we have the Mech Knight. This one I'm going to speed kind of fast past because it's just generically good cards. Shared Ride, Droll, Mystic Mine, Nibiru, all good cards to shut down this deck. It's just kind of like a Fishboy deck sometimes, especially if they have Gear Suit or just purple. And it really depends on like what they open there. Gear Suit is going to be more susceptible to the Nibiru, as the purple would be more susceptible to things like the Droll, the Shared Ride, and then Mystic Mine is all around very good against this deck. Moving forward, though, we have Prank Kids. Prank Kids and Nibiru and Evenly. Evenly is so cracked against this deck, and no one even realizes it, I don't think. If you activate Nibiru against this deck, it's, like, harmful. But if you do Evenly, it's so crazy. Because, like, they can't even, like, summon their kids when they have to force summon the Butler, you know? Because the second you go battle phase, like, they're going to try to play. But if they summon kids, then they all get banished off the Evenly. So, like, they are forced to go, like, so on like the negative side of things when you activate Evenly, that like pranks just have a very hard time coming back after that because they lose a lot. So Evenly is my favorite card against prank kids easily. And then if you are newer to the matchup, make sure that you are twinning in the draw or standby phase because the Pandemonium Fusion spell can only be activated in the main phase. Honorable mentions, Meister is another Ash. So off the first kit effect, you're going to be having them go like drops these effect and you go Meister or Ash, and that's fantastic too because I feel like Meister is a lesser cross-out target than Ash would be, so Meister just becomes that much better. Mine, again, they don't play back row out, and then Phantasme because they summon Link monsters quite a bit. There's quite a many times too where they'll have like 2 on the board, so very, very good utility here. Next up here, we have Skystriker. Please do not be the person who activates Shared Ride in Area 0. Area 0 does have an effect that allows you to mill 3 cards and add 1 to Skystriker, but if you guys are unaware, you can actually put all those cards back in the deck. You still send the card you targeted, but you don't have to add the card. So activate Shared Ride on anything else, but not on Area 0 because they have the option to just put it back. I have literally won a game because I put back Engage that I got off my Area 0, didn't use it. He drew my board was nice. It was enough to like stun him, and what he drew wasn't like amazing, and I ended up blowing him out that turn, and he looked at his next top deck, and it was like such a bad blowout against me. So I was just like, wow, like I didn't let him draw cards, so that was pretty cool. Definitely a big thing here though, just don't activate it against the Area 0. The Kaiju for the Link monster, the Ogre for the multi-roll, back row out is back row out, and then generically Crow is very good for Ray Engage, and then Phantasme again, so you can't be targeted. This one is very fast. Dragon Maids, pure Dragon Maids. Stop or the Max C for searching, and then back row outs. This deck you'll kind of see here and there. Just be very aware of it, and just like try to play against it if you can once or twice, just so you're familiar with the deck and how it plays. Next up is PK. You're going to be Kaijuing the Dragoon for sure, because that's the scariest part about their end board. Then you have things like Nibiru, Dark Ruler, Mine, just because they don't main the back row, and they don't have any smaller trap negates. They're all monster negates. Generically good would be Meister, Lancia, and the back row out, and then any kind of droplet for their end board, which again is usually just like Dragoon, and IP maybe. But like their board isn't that scary outside the Dragoon, so as long as you can out the Dragoon, typically you'll be alright. Last but not least, we have Dragon. This one's very all over the place because they have a lot of different ways to stop Dragon. So Phantasme, because they have a lot of links, you'll be able to summon and draw quite a bit sometimes, or you can be conservative and just draw off the 1 and threaten the Heretic Seal right away if you have a problem with bouncing. The Dark Ruler droplet for their final end board. This would also be a tidying back here, but this is their typical end board. Meister for the safer effect to add back Levianeer or to kill the effect in the grave of Heretic Seal. Bell for the quad barrel. You have things like Shared Ride and Droll and Nibiru. And the last thing is the Ghost Mourner is very, very good against Dragon. And they can't cross out you because no one's going to have this in their deck. I guarantee you. And this is a very small time when this card's actually pretty gas. And this will actually get you around things like cross out, though, which is really cool. And then they also take burn damage. So there you go. I really enjoy this card a lot, though, at least for the Dragon matchup. It's essentially another imperm if you're unfamiliar with the card. So I hope this like really helped you guys, because this type of video does take a while to prepare, but it's something that I really enjoy to do and put a lot of thought into, because there's just so many interactions to think about and like so many different decks and sideboard cards that you could be playing that it's so subjective to the event that you're going to, because sideboards are always evolving constantly, and like once they're good for one event, they're pretty trash for the next event, and you're already changing your sideboard. So again, guys, I do appreciate so much all the support in the last video, and I hope that this helped you as well. If it did, let me know down in the comments below. If it did not, just tell me where went wrong. But you know, if you guys are new here, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and if you're not already in my Discord, go ahead and join that, because all the screenshots again are going to be in the Discord under how to. So I hope that everyone has a wonderful night, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video. Thanks.